Hey, first of all, welcome back.
Thank you.
And congratulations on so many fronts. And cancer-free, right? That's behind you and all done.
Anybody who's had cancer will tell you it's ongoing. I mean, you got to always be on the lookout.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling great.
That's great. Well, you sound great. And it must have been, I just can only imagine, for a singer like you to worry even for a minute about losing your voice, that must have been terrifying. But you sound good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you have the world's most efficient band.
They really are. They're very compact.
Yeah, this is really... This is an easy traveling operation here. This is great. I want to just mention that I guess going through that thing that you went through, having a health scare, which we've all had, but some in varying degrees, I'm sure called into question all the big questions that people ask about what are my gifts, what am I doing, what's important to me, and is this record a kind of response to those questions in a way?
Well, it's that and age and our times, and it's everything. I find throughout my whole career of writing, that the stuff I'm writing about personally does kind of tend to reflect the outward world. I mean, I think a lot of people, we're all kind of in the same vibrational fields together, so it kind of it goes in you and outside of you. Yeah,
that's the mark of a great song, when it's really personal, but it also becomes kind of universal in a way. But you ask a lot of questions about, or you touch on your past. I know with songs like Mama's Worried, or Where I Came From, or Had a Good Reason.
Well, Mama's Worried, to me in particular, is a song it's about the world. Yeah. Mama is the world.
Yeah.
I can sort of, and I do think the feminine, I'm one of those people that thinks the neglect of the feminine does represent, and is very closely related to how the planet has been treated too.
Yeah, so, not a good idea generally.
No, it's a bad idea to neglect the feminine. Anyone who's married to a woman will tell you that, I'm sure. Yeah.
We're all married to that woman, so we should take...
If you're lucky.
We should take better care of that one.
If you're lucky, you're married to that woman.
Yeah. But I was wondering, just because you dedicate the record to your mother, and what was she like? What was your mom like?
My mom's still around. She would want me to say that. And she's still like, she's a French-Canadian stock, which means she's got French and just about every single thing inside of her. We did one of those genetic tests, and we're like, she's just a complete mutt.
Yeah.
And Native America, Portuguese, everything.
That's cool.
North African. I mean, it's really crazy what's in there because of the sailing life. And she came with this into my life with this beautiful voice. It was the first voice I ever heard. Oh, cool. And she sang constantly. She had 7 children in 7 years, and so she was very, very
busy.
And a really smart, creative lady who had no time to sort of do anything but laundry and cook and make sure everybody had enough for many, many years, really, and on a very, very tight budget. My dad was a public school teacher, so she sang constantly, and so I thought, and her voice was. When I was really little, there was a record from the library that came to the house, and I think it was someone like Ella Fitzgerald, and I was like, it was her. My mom had the smoky, beautiful, strong voice and just singing all the time.
Yeah. And
so I thought everybody's mom probably sang like that.
Yeah. Maybe not.
But no.
And your dad's Irish, right? Your dad was Irish, so
Irish American, first generation.
Yeah. And so, and there is a thing, I think, I don't know whether it's an unfair advantage, but it seems pretty consistent that lots of Irish people are really good singers too.
And they're great. They love a sad story.
Yeah.
And they love a story, and they love them when they're sad, especially. And I've definitely inherited that.
Yeah.
From them.
I think your fans would concur.
Yeah.
Was your house one of those houses where that sort of Irish American tradition becomes around the dinner table, stories and songs and things are sort of embraced by the family? Was yours one of those?
No. It's like, please be quiet, please be quiet, please be quiet. One of those families, and eat your peas. Don't put them under your plate. Be quiet and eat your peas. No, he didn't talk that way.
Yeah. I think it's interesting now to think about, we are a nation of immigrants, right? And you live in Texas now, so there's a lot of border talk. And it seems like that you're describing such a rich cultural heritage with your parents coming from different places and coming together and raising a family in Maine. It's just seems like we are so enriched by these different traditions and cultures.
Well, if you're not an indigenous person and you're not, your family wasn't, your ancestors weren't brought here by force. You came here to build a better life.
Yeah.
And my family actually came from, my father's family, I know, came from the lowest of circumstances. They were just completely poverty-stricken and starving. So they were here for that reason, and a lot of people. I have a song about being Irish American in my show, and I always ask the audience how many Irish Americans, and there's usually 10% at least.
Yeah.
And that means there's a lot of people that came over on those boats that were desperate. And I feel like this about, the situation at the border is completely complex. We all know it's complex. But I think there is enough. There's enough for all of us. We just have to figure out how to share it properly. And it's just common sense to me to not build future generations of very sad, intolerant people who are subject to the whims of the next loony, to come along and manipulate them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean, we need to be taking very good care of people. That's just common sense. If you can't find the compassion in your heart to do that, use your noggin. I mean, it should be a compassionate thing, of course. I mean, that's where it starts for me, and I think most people I know. But it doesn't even make any sense to me to neglect people because they are very, very desperate and poor.
Yeah.
I mean,
it also doesn't make
so badly.
It doesn't make economic sense. It doesn't make political sense. It doesn't make sense. You're right. Hey, in case you just tuned in, you're listening to eTown. I'm here with Patty Griffin.
Sorry, you just opened up this very big emotional can of worms for me.
Do you remember where you are? This is eTown. This is the kind of stuff we talk about all the time.
Okay, good.
And for example, the song you did, "The Wheel," ostensibly connected to Eric Garner and the incident in New York, but also about a kind of justice and fairness, an anthem, a cry for better understanding.
Well, I think, if it isn't up in your face in America, we're a massive country and we're still really at an experimental level. So, and I think we're sort of not, our culture is still developing. And we're really sort of following the footprints of our families, which is really to just have enough, make a living, and, have a decent life. And so if it's not up in your face, and justice is not up in your face, we're not necessarily motivated to do anything about it. Yeah. And we don't feel necessarily connected to other Americans because culturally we're still a little scattered. But I do feel, was a reader of James Baldwin in my younger days, and I feel like he really was the first person that I heard say, when we neglect, Americans, our fellow Americans, if we neglect to tell the correct historic story, then we're doomed. I think we are doomed as a country unless we sort of figure out how to deal with this race issue.
How to tell the real story.
And that means all of us getting, doing whatever the next right thing is for us. And I haven't figured it out. And I feel like I've been working on it a while. It's not easy to figure out as a white person what to do and how to behave. But you do have to step up.
Yeah, one thing people are talking about is rather than glorifying 1776, we should glorify 1619. Is that the right year? when the slaves first arrived, first human beings were sold on American soil. And that's in essence what launched the experiment that became America. And so we can all be educated about that stuff and learn more about so many things. Of course, we're not going to do it now.
I don't know any. I think there's really complex issues, but the first thing to do is sort of face up to it,
Yeah.
and really own it.
Well, one of the things you can also do is educate yourself and appreciate those of other cultures. And one of the things that it makes me think of that is that on a couple of songs on your new record, you're singing a little bit like Billie Holiday. And
Really?
Yeah. Just on, I think, What I Remember and on Mama's Worried, you had just hints of Billie Holiday. And I wondered if she's one of your touch points or...
Well, she definitely inspired this whole record. I didn't. I'm not doing any of those songs tonight, but she. I had a dream about her that it was just before I got diagnosed with cancer too. So I had a dream. I was in London, sleeping on off of a big jet lag with a little help from Ambien, my friend Ambien, and I had a very vivid dream of Billie. And she was singing in a barn. And she was very young and very beautiful. And I'd always been a little scared of her because it's a sad, sad voice. So you don't necessarily dive in, naively to Billie Holiday. It's very, I get sucked into things very emotionally. And I didn't want to get sucked down. So, but I realized this dream was sort of like, I felt like it was telling me to go for it. And sing and listen to Billie, and it really did. I think that one of the great gifts she gave was being able to go that dark and sing about it, because and we all have those moments.
Right.
And it's a wonderful gift.
Yeah, it's a pathway to a really deep place that not everybody's willing or ready to go.
I listened to her a lot, and.
Well, I heard a little piece in parts of it, so it sunk in.
Great.
Yeah. I noticed one other thing before we get back to music. There was a letter on your website from Joan Baez talking about kind of the same thing that we were talking about earlier, that this is an opportunity for us each to sort of become a fire line or some, rise up in community and try to make things better and stand in the way of things that are working against us. Do you find that as a singer and as a performer and somebody who's traveling around, are there particular causes or things you lend your name or your voice or your dollars to these days, or is it just kind of everywhere you get a chance you try to spread the word a little bit?
Do you mean am I just all over the place?
No, what I mean is you're
What I don't understand.
Yeah, sorry. What I mean is, you're a passionate person.
Because yes, I am.
Yeah.
No.
You're a passionate person, and I'm just wondering in this time where there's lots of places where we could point our focus and our attention and our efforts, are there things that speak to you particularly?
Well, I think definitely the immigration issue, and in Texas, there's just humanitarian crisis after humanitarian crisis with the privately owned prisons, which are really, really difficult for just a regular person to even get into. A lawyer, dealing with the cases of these people that are locked up for no other reason than they are poor and they're here without paperwork. That sort of thing has been going on for years.
Yeah.
Before who was in office.
Yeah.
And so that one in particular, because I am really close to immigration. Also, there's plenty of Irish immigrants still in the United States. I just heard there's 50,000 of them that ICE is going after them too. So there just seems like, you keep waiting for common sense to intervene.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to get there. And I'm not sure how it's going to politically. I feel like we're all going to have to start doing, boots on the ground about these things and do small step after small step together as communities.
What about when people's cell phones go off at the wrong time? Does that bug you?
I don't even hear it anymore.
Yeah, you don't hear it anymore.
No.
Okay. Okay, last question, just because this is fun and I'm having fun at least. So when I listen when I listen to you sing, and I think about the Irish in you, which is not obviously all of it because you got so much from your mom too, but the trills and the little things that you also hear in Irish fiddle playing. Sometimes they're reminiscent of Middle Eastern singing too. And that connection between the Middle East and Ireland, I don't know whether that was a trade route or what the heck happened there, but have you ever paid attention to that, like Middle Eastern singing? And
I once heard an Irish lady say about her husband, because he had the dark curly hair. She said, "There's more than waves that crashed up on those rocks." And I went, yeah, that's Ireland's just been invaded by everybody for centuries.
Yeah.
That's why we're all scrappers.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Scrappers with a universal gift that can help bring people together and connect the world and heal the world and make all this stuff better. So keep it up.
Oh yeah, we've got it all.
You got it
Irish.
all.
We're gonna fix this.
All right, we got more music to get back to. Welcome back, if you would, Patty Griffin. Hi, this is Nick Forster from eTown. If you want to stay up to date with all the performances, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage, click the subscribe button. Thanks.